RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. Hey, it's Greg Stanley with the Collector Car Podcast. I'm excited about this episode because I'm interviewing someone at RM Sotheby's, someone that interacts with clients a lot. So I'd like to welcome Meghan Lobzun. How you doing, Megan?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So this is going to be fun because you do a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes. You're very necessary in the transaction of cars and the understanding of cars. So if you would, could you tell our listeners what is your title and then what do you do for RM Sotheby's?
So my title is Senior Research Archivist. I'm part of the research department, but I have a kind of special role within the research department in that I provide a support function in acquiring history and information on the cars so that our catalog writers can write the best descriptions, the most accurate descriptions. So that includes anything from receiving physical history files from consigners, what they have acquired over the years, what they have done to the cars, whether it's, bills of sale, invoices, previous registrations, photos, anything that they've acquired, and also reaching out to third-party archives. So whether that's, Porsche, Jaguar, Mercedes-Benz, we reach
So this
out to
is
them
like
as
their
well.
their heritage center or their history, like reaching out to the
Exactly.
factory directly.
So it depends. Most of them have some sort of heritage branch that is designated to deal with their archives. So I can reach out to them to get build information. Sometimes I'm also able to get them to confirm kind of weird facts about cars. Right now I'm trying to get Mercedes to look into some kind of funky engine thing that happened to a car that we're selling in Miami. So hoping they're able to confirm something for us on that. Yeah, so I'm just able to reach out to a lot of third-party manufacturers to get information, acquiring historic photos.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sort of building the history behind the scenes.
So how does that process work? So I'll speak of it from a car specialist perspective. So I meet with somebody, I try to get as much history as I can, paperwork and such. We get a contract, we do the internal announcement. Where does it go from there, from your perspective?
So from there, two things. One, it's immediately send me what you have, right? I want to know what you already have. I'm not going to go spend time and money getting something that you already have. Then the flip side is, okay, so what don't you have and what can I go and get myself? So you can see sitting in a library, we have quite a lot of resources in here. So a lot of these books have an amazing amount of information in them, and I'm able to go through these, find out, are there historic photos in these books? Are there race records? Is there registries? Can we find out previous ownership chains? Where can we fill in the gaps? Some of these books feature collections. Was it previously in a collection? Some of these books highlight certain makes and models. Was this car featured in that book? One of the classics is, where is it? The Beverly Ray Kimes, the classic car. That's a good
Okay.
one. Lots of
Yep.
cars we've sold have been featured in that book, and it's always cool to say, she picked this car to be in this book. It's a standout example of this type of car. The process for me getting historical documents that I don't have, a lot of the manufacturers require a certain amount of information, whether that's numbers, photos of numbers, titles. Sometimes they even require like some sort of proof that I am asking for this on behalf of the owner.
Mm.
Sometimes I have to get them to write like a proxy or something. And then so then I'm following up with a specialist, this is what I need in order to get this information for the car. So yeah, a lot of photos of numbers, a lot of chasing for photos of numbers.
So, were you a car person before this job?
No, not in particular. I remember saying in my interview that the sort of extent of my classic car knowledge extended to A&W like cruise nights when they would just sit in the parking lot. That was kind of the extent of my classic car exposure before I started working here. Always liked history and thought cars were cool, but wasn't certainly wasn't like a passion the way that it is to a lot of other people who've been living with cars since they were, 4 years old or something crazy.
What's funny is just based on the functionality of your job, you probably know more than so many people because of how much you have to dig into it, right? I mean, you're digging up the facts about the cars and such. I mean, some of that just happens, right?
Yeah, I certainly have learned a lot. It's impossible not to acquire knowledge being in this position. Um, I always like to, let people know though, I don't actually know anything about I couldn't change my own oil. I couldn't I don't actually know anything about making a car function. I just know the history of the cars.
Well, that's still very, very cool. Okay, so you get this package together, and then where does it go once you kind of put all the fun facts and history of the car together? You said it goes to the catalog team?
Yeah, so everything kind of filters in through me, and then so all of my team is actually remote. So it's very, very important to digitize everything so that they can access it. So a big thing is getting people to send their files into us so that I can digitize it. Which is really a fancy word for just saying scan, which sounds really mundane, but it's so important. And it's important for more than one reason. One, it's important immediately for our cataloging team to have access to that information. But two, it's important to have a record of it just in case something ever happens to the car. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen a listing on Bring a Trailer that has photos of all this beautiful documentation, and by the time it comes around to us, it's all gone because nobody passed it on, or in
Oh,
some sort of
yeah.
previous listing with another auction house or something. And I know that it exists somewhere, but I don't know where it is, and it's really
Mm.
frustrating. I also know of people who've unfortunately had floods or fires in their houses and their documentation's been destroyed. And if you'd had a digital copy, sure, it won't replace the original, but at least that history is still there and it's not gone. So really important to send the physical documentation into us, or if you're really against it, at least making scans yourself and sending the scans into us. Um, so that is super important. And then sorry, what was your original question? I went on a tangent.
I can't remember, but I do have a follow up. I have the Dual Ghia that's in Miami, and that's such a cool car because it's the original family that bought it in 1957, and I'm dealing with the grandson really, and he was so nervous to send stuff in because he's like, this is historic stuff. A picture of it at Pebble Beach in 2011 when it won its class. So you would prefer that they send it in, but it's all handled with the utmost care, correct? And they can get that original documentation back, or does it stay with the car? How does that work?
Great question. So preferably it goes with the car. Of course, that is your property, and if you want it back, we will absolutely send it back. We actually just did that for a car in Miami. The owner was okay with letting a certain amount of original stuff go, the original manuals. He had the original, the car had been restored and the tags were in the history file, not on the car, so he was okay with passing those on, but he wanted the original copies of his invoices back. I explained that, people do prefer to have the original copies, but it's up to you. And he wanted the originals back, so we actually just sent that back earlier this week.
That
And
actually pains me to hear that because the original invoices are so important to the car and to the value of the car for future generations, I would imagine, right? And like you said, you can have a digital copy, but like, oh, that hurts to not
it
have it
pains
go
me
with the
too.
car.
We made our plea, but at the end of the day, it is their information. So if they really do want it back, we have to oblige. But we really do prefer to pass it on. It is a value add to people. People do want original documentation with their cars. They want to see build sheets. They want to see, bills of sale. They want to see ownership history, especially the older the car gets. With the modern supercars, not so much. They want to see like window stickers, and like warranty books, like the stamps in the warranty books. And I don't know. And obviously, if there's something done to it, but a lot of the modern cars just aren't old enough to have had something done to them yet. But when we're talking about like the 50s and 60s, those have lived lives, and um, it's really great for the next buyer to be able to continue that history. And it's also really great, again, for us to receive it ahead of time, not only so that we can make a digital copy in case something bad happens to it, but also so that we can do our best in protecting and preserving that documentation as it exists. So removing staples, removing paper clips, those things rust. They damage your paper. Removing duplicates or organizing the
Mm,
information better. Cannot tell you the number of times I have received files that look organized, and as you start to go through them, you realize there's actually other cars mixed in here. The
right.
invoices aren't in chronological order. It doesn't make any sense, and you really kind of have to sift through it. It's surprising the number of people who own the same type of car. Uh, and all of a sudden you'll be like, wait a second, the VIN number is different. Like, it's still the same model.
Yeah.
And then, oh, sorry, that's the wrong car. I sent you the wrong file. Like,
Yeah. I've got
but
three of those.
yeah, so it's really good to be able to sort that out ahead of time rather than, accidentally send the wrong file on the day of the sale. Things are really busy once you're on site. You're more likely to miss something. Whereas if you send it in ahead of time, we can do that sort of work ahead. And also, we will put the documents into protective sleeves, which again sounds like really mundane, but it's also really important. So we use acid-free archival quality sleeves. I have also received files that are in sleeves, and when I go to take the paper out, the ink lifts up onto the sleeve. So you need to be using the right type of material to protect the documentation. And a really great example is actually there was a file that I had previously done that had come back around to me, and you could tell that the binder had water damage on it.
Mm.
So at some point, this file had encountered water. It looked like it had been sitting in water. There was like a line.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I opened it, all the files were perfect because I'd put them into these sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't get any water damage at all. All I had to do was take them out and put them into a fresh binder. So
Awesome.
that's a real world example of why it's really important to send your files in. I will do my best to protect them.
So, okay, so you pass it along. Oh, yeah, and the catalog folks, they take your information and do the catalog description. And does that ever bounce back to you to give your blessing? Like, yes, this is what I found. This is what makes sense. Or can they pretty much handle that themselves?
Not something that I have to bless by any means. But I have made it very apparent to them that if we don't have a copy of it, do not mention it in the description. If the consigner says, yeah, I've got that, but you don't have some sort of proof that it exists, don't mention it in the description because then when we get on site, I'm going to be following up with I read through the whole catalog, I come up with a list of everything that we've promised, and I check for it. And if we don't have it on site, then we either need to look at an addendum, we need to look at sourcing whatever that item is, who's going to pay for the cost of it. So it's been the the rule in the research department is if you don't have proof of it, it doesn't exist and you can't mention it.
Yeah, that's
So
very good.
it doesn't have to come to me for blessing, but they know that I'm going to be on them if I don't have a copy of
And
it.
you are on the on this car specialist, like, hey, here's what we're missing. So, okay. And then once at auction, I kind of feel bad for you because you're in this remote library basically at the auction site. You're not in Monterey, you're not down by the ocean, but it's a nice place in Monterey. I know in Arizona you're in the parking garage and you're a little chilly out there, but you had your heaters on. So tell us about the setup on site and how people can get the information that they need if they're interested in one of the cars that's being offered on sale.
Yeah, so Our process is cars arrive on site. Myself or whoever from the research department is there. We will go through the cars. We remove physical things. So, if you didn't send your file in ahead of time, you sent it with the car, we will still take it out. We're going to get to it. But given just the time frame of being on site, I don't have the time to deal with the files to the same manner that I would deal with them ahead of time. So they're maybe going to get rebindered into like one of our binders. Maybe if I have time, I'll be able to like scan a couple important things, throw them into some sleeves. But for the most part, they're not getting the star treatment that they would get if they had been sent
Right.
into the office. So removing everything, tool rolls, cigarette lighters, everything we remove from cars,
Ashtrays.
ashtrays, anything. They're unfortunately some people have sticky fingers, so we just take everything out to be super extra careful, make sure that nothing goes missing by accident. So everything gets removed. We have a secure location that we store it in. Everything gets photographed. Everything gets labeled with its lot number, and it's sits on a bunch of shelves at our research desk area until people are ready to come and look at what comes with the car. So then we are able to pull all of that out for them in supervised area. They can look through it. They can ask us any questions. Sometimes cars have a lot of restoration photos that will come on a CD or a USB or something. We won't print those out because they can honestly be like hundreds to thousands of photos. But we have iPads available for people to look through anything that we don't physically have that was only sent digitally. Sometimes also we get like walk around videos or like videos of the car driving or videos of people starting the engine. Those will go into our digital file as well, so people can access that on our iPads, or they can access it from our website. Everything that I get is redacted from current owner information and is posted on our website. We use a program called OneHub that will open the links for you. As long as you're logged into our website, you have to be logged in to be able to see the documentation tab.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, and so it's called what? Access the knowledge.
We're going through a rebrand actually.
Oh,
So it was
announcement!
called
Breaking news.
Access. Yeah, it was called Access the Knowledge for a really long time, but we are rebranding to the Research Desk.
Okay, just the research desk. Okay, that's
Mhm.
clear. Everybody knows what it is and what you go there for, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, in your time with RM Sotheby's, have you come to like some cars, certain kinds of cars?
Yes. Um, I I was waiting for you to ask what my favorite car was because I was
All
gonna
right,
have
what's
a
your
really
favorite
hard
car?
time picking, but I was gonna say that if I had to pick one, it would probably be like a Volkswagen Westphalia.
Hmm.
Um, but over my time with RM, I have learned that I love station wagons, and I'm really drawn to Rolls-Royce Silver Race for some reason.
Hmm.
And I like Porsches, which isn't really a surprise, I guess, considering that I like Volkswagens. But I like cars that have weird kitschy things. I like the umbrellas in the door. I like that the modern Porsche key fobs look like a mini Porsche. I like I like I don't know, some of the vanity kits that come with these cars. I also just love like storage space and weird hidey places. So the umbrellas in the door are cool. There's I think we call them like smugglers bags in some of the Porsches. They're like these like hidden compartments where there's these little bags. Yeah, I like all the little hidey spots. I think they're fun. But I'm someone who really likes camping, and so that's why I kind of am drawn towards the Volkswagens and the station wagons because I don't know, I can just see myself putting a air mattress in the back of a station wagon, or obviously you just camp in a Westphalia. And sometimes we sell trailers, and I get really excited when we sell trailers.
The old school, like 50s trailers, Airstreams or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, you did say before the call here, you noticed I have a cat stand behind me, and you said it would be appropriate to have a cat in this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Librarians with cats. Would you like to see Piper?
It's the stereotype. Yeah, of course I'd love to see
Let me
Piper.
wake her up. Hold on. Oh, she's like, why are you bothering me? Okay, say hi. Here we go.
Hi, sweetie.
Well, she likes to jump on my shoulders for some reason.
Aw,
Well,
good perch.
you got the rear end of my cat. I hold her tail for stability. I think she's just going to climb back up there. Oh, nope, she's heading out of here. All right, so
Oh.
we had the cat with the librarian. Now, do you have any cats?
I do have one cat.
What's its name?
Yeah, her name is Cooper. We just got her a year ago. She's 9. We got her when she was 8, and she is the love of my life. She's the best thing that we ever did. But she actually threw up twice right before I left for work today. So the lives of cat owners.
The Lives of Cat Owners. That's right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on the Collector Car podcast. And I know for our listeners, if you're going to be at Moto Miami, you can see Megan at the research desk, right?
We'll be there. We'll be in a big tent.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome, Megan. Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.